Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and happy Easter. Today I thought I would bring you a layout using the Whole Picture Volume 2. I'm going to be using sketch number 1 from this sketchbook. I also pulled out this Close to My Heart collection called In This Together, and I'm going to be documenting some photos from Easter. I also brought in the Simple Stories Hip Hop Hooray collection, but I'm only going to be using embellishments from that collection. I'm going to be documenting some memes from Easter of 2020. I like having these types of things in my albums just to showcase something a little different. This collection that I picked up from Close to My Heart back in 2020 did come with some cardstock as well, and I was deciding between the yellow or the purple, but I ultimately did go with the purple. The Close to My Heart paper does have two different colors, a darker and a lighter color. And I chose to use the lighter colors on each one of the cardstocks that I pulled out, which would be the purple, the teal, the green, and then also the yellow. After I put this layout together, I realized that I didn't use any of the quarantine things from the collection. I just mainly used the paper. This paper collection definitely has a spring vibe to it. This sketchbook has all 4x6 photos. I did have one 4x4 photo, so I am going to change the background piece up just a little bit to accommodate that 4x4, just by making it a little smaller. I did pull out my border punch to create a border with this green cardstock, and I'm going to follow the sketch by adding it to the top part of the layout. The 4 photos that I have are just memes that I found about Easter 2020. The far left photo is a photo of a package of Peeps, and those Peeps have masks on, and it says 2020 limited edition Easter Peeps. The middle photo has Easter baskets this year, and they're basically all supplies that we needed during that time when we stayed home, to include Lysol, disinfecting wipes, hand sanitizers, and tissues. For the state of Florida, we did have an extremely hot Easter in 2020. I live in the middle of the state, and so the temperatures that were around me were anywhere from 96 to 99, with the highest temperature being over 100. So we're talking in April in the state of Florida back in 2020, our temperatures were pretty warm. And then the very last photo is a picture from the Carousel of Progress, which is a ride at Disney World. If you have not ridden that ride, it's basically a moving picture show, and the audience moves along. And as the audience moves, you move into a different season of life for a particular family. So I see these memes often where they are describing information that's currently going on. And this one says, well, it's almost Easter here in 2020, and boy, things have changed in the 21st century. We're doing this new thing called social distancing. Nobody is allowed to leave their house. You can't find toilet paper anywhere, and people are wearing diapers as masks. Yes, sirree, we sure have come a long way. You know who I wish would do an even better job of social distancing? Uncle Orville, that's who. The Carousel of Progress is one of my favorite rides at Disney, and I just felt like that was a perfect tribute to what was going on during that time, and also a little nod to Disney. So I do have several layouts from the spring of 2020, and I do plan to document several of them. I have a ton already documented, but I feel like having these types of layouts in my albums is important because this was a significant time in our life. We had to deal with a lot during that time, but now that it's been 5 years since we went through all of that, you start to forget about the details. And I think that scrapbooking really does lend towards reminding us of those things that were going on. So the sketch basically calls for some blocking of paper. Down at the bottom, I added the teal paper, and then at the top, I added that floral paper. I liked the floral paper, but I'm going to run into some issues here shortly with my title. I do find a way to fix it, but my title did get a little bit lost. I cut out 2 green border strips, but then forgot that I probably needed 2 for the right-hand side of the layout, so I do have to end up bringing out my border punch again and cutting that out. But I really like the way that the paper is framed with the border punch on the top and bottom. It really does add an extra dimension to this layout. And then of course, you know, I'm going to pull in that 1/4 inch strip with the striped paper so that I can bring in all of the colors from this collection. When I lined up my border strip, because I didn't do a full 12 by 12, I did go ahead and line it up on the left-hand side of the layout so that when it does meet in the middle, it has the same area of the border punch. So it looks like the border is continuous across the layout. The sketch also calls for a 4x3 card down at the bottom right-hand side. I did look through the Simple Stories collection to see if I could find an Easter card, but I couldn't find one in the 4x3 orientation. So I decided to just go ahead and make something with one of the papers from the Close to My Heart collections. I really like that polka dotted paper, and in hindsight, I probably should have used the polka dotted paper at the top and then the floral paper down there where the 4x3 card is going to be. Since that floral paper was so busy and the polka dotted paper probably would have been a better place for my title to sit. But I go ahead and get the polka dotted paper down, as well as adding the 1/4 inch strip over there as well to give it a little bit of a border. And I really like the way that that sets with the teal paper right next to it. Of course, I had to bring out my T-square ruler and my X-Acto knife to trim off the polka dotted paper just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and get all of the photos down. So let me know in the comments below, do you guys like to document things like this in your albums, or are you just doing layouts with actual photos of people from your life? I did pull out the embellishment pieces for this Simple Stories collection, and I just love that bunny that I added to the right-hand side. His eyes are shifting to the left a little bit, and I just feel like that's exactly what the Easter bunny would look like during the year of 2020. I also added a little tag over there as well as a carrot. And then I decided that the way that I was going to make sure that my title stood out a little bit over on the left-hand side was to add some vellum behind it. I really like this Easter title piece, but it was definitely getting lost on that floral. I think that adding the vellum behind it really did help it stand out. So I went ahead and added some adhesive to the back of the title piece and adhered that to the vellum. That way I could add some adhesive to the back of the vellum piece behind where the title piece sat so that you would not be able to see the adhesive. It is kind of hard to tell, but it does really soften the florals in the background. I then decided to continue working on the right-hand side of the layout. I cut that tag down just a little bit, and I'm going to adhere the tag down, then put the bunny up on some fun foam and add him right next to the tag. I really liked this carrot, and I felt like it kind of closed in that area by adding it to the actual purple cardstock, but still touching that 4x3 card. I do have quite a bit of embellishments left from this collection, and some of the pieces worked really well, and some of them were way too bright for the collection. So I tried to stay away from the pinks and really focused more on that coral color as well as the light teal color. I decided to add an egg over to the far left-hand side, but then found this little bunny that I wanted to add. So I moved the egg to the right-hand side of the title and then went ahead and put that little bunny up on fun foam and added him right next to the title piece. The sketch also calls for 3 little tags over on the far right-hand side. I did go ahead and cut that down with the yellow, and I'm going to use the lighter side of the yellow since I did use the lighter side of all of the cardstock as well. I did bring out my Stampin' Up! Punch that cuts a banner, and I cut the banner first and then cut the strips down to the size that I wanted them so that they would all be even. Once I got all 3 of the strips down, I went ahead and added this Easter basket, but I wasn't liking it too much, so I decided to pull that up and add this little banner of Easter eggs. And then I was trying to figure out what to do with the bottom part, and I pulled out these little butterflies, and I thought, you know what, that would be perfect. Even though there's an Easter egg garland, I just went with the butterflies. So I tried to find a couple of different butterflies. I do end up settling on these 2 here, the one with the teal and coral butterfly, and then a solid pink butterfly, which I know that I just said that I tried to stay away from the pink, but since I added the Easter egg garland and it had pink in it, I just went with it, even though that's the only two places that you can see the pink. I did decide to put the other butterfly up on fun foam. I just put the fun foam on the butterfly's wings and then put liquid adhesive in the center of the butterfly so that that part was flat to the layout and it makes the butterfly look like it's flying. I pulled out my piercing tools and I created holes around the title piece, and then I pulled out my threads and searched for a yellow that would match the word Easter. I am going to just stitch right around the word Easter, and that makes such a huge impact. I think with the vellum and the stitching, it really does make my layout pop. I then pulled out my color boxes in green, purple, and clear to add some enamel dots around the layout. I hope you guys are enjoying your Easter. If you would like to see more Easter inspiration, make sure that you check out the playlist that I have listed below. I have all the layouts that I have completed that have an Easter theme to them. So hopefully it will bring you lots of inspiration. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.